right, here we are again on a Sunday. Just got back from church. It was a beautiful, glorious thing. My boobies are hurting because they're coming in. I'll wake up buff tomorrow. Oh, my arms are looking okay, right? I was really skinny yesterday. I had a week of almost no calories in a relative sense, and now I'm getting the meat put back on my bones, and that's very helpful because I feel the heaviness, but the muscle pushes me forward, and I can feel that tangible sense of like momentum. I like the tangibility of it all. I really do. But we're going to warm up with some lighthearted fun and frivolity first. It's the shorter videos, and then we'll get into the more clinical diagnosis of things. Is it caused by trauma? And it manifests as a kink or a fetish in adult. And then there's one video about fetishes versus kinks. So they're different. Two different things, apparently. Who knew? The more you know, right?
To show you is like a little bit about whipping and flogging. It's at the pace that the submissive desires it to be. Any dominant who just rocks in there and beats the crap out of someone, we have a special term for those people, and they're called abusive assholes. So how we create a safe environment? Well, let's do that now. Now, who would like to receive the whipping, and who would like to give the whipping?
Shall we flip a coin?
Can you hold those for a second? Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to warm up your ass. How does that feel?
It's like a really strange massage.
Cool. If I do some follow through and put it
By Wagyu beef in here.
Do you want to have a go? Hold his body.
Hold it like this.
So comfort him.
I love you.
Love you too.
You're doing it right.
Oh, Lizzie, come on.
You are not going to be able to sit down after this.
Congratulations. You're at the next level.
Mum will be so proud.
My wife's got to have to know how to spank me properly. She just looked like she did not know what she was doing. It can't be that hard, right? She was fumbling around in the dark there.
Did you know that 60% of women claim that they enjoy being spanked? Or how about that the erotic use of spanking goes all the way back to the Renaissance?
See, and a lot of men won't admit it because it sounds feminine. That's the only BDSM type related kink thing that I'm into. I'm pretty vanilla boring beyond that. I'm sure most of you guys know that followed my old channels. But with that, it just really makes me tingle. And there's been even like some instances here, women in the community, we were like play fighting and stuff, and then they'll always say like something like, I'm gonna spank you, bratty Maddie, spank that little badass of yours. And I'm always like, oh, what the fuck? And I kind of giggle it off, but it turns me on. I know it's really nerdy. I don't take it too far, but it just tickles my fancy, I guess.
There's definitely more to discover here, so let's delve into the art of erotic spanking. It turns out the same neurotransmitters that help control the brain's pleasure and reward centers are also active when it comes to pain, hence the blurred line that often separates the two. Beyond that, sex and power are highly connected, which means it can be a real turn-on to spank or be spanked depending on what you like. What the BDSM community calls good girl spanking is the kind you've likely experimented with. A few smacks on your partner's butt during doggy-style sex. But what they call bad girl spanking is usually a standalone roleplay activity that serves as its own experience or as extended foreplay. And here's the obligatory reminder that before you strike anyone, get their consent. It's a good idea to have a safe word system if you're really gonna go for it. Lots of couples find that the traffic light system works well. Green means you're clear to keep going, yellow, you hit the limit, and red means stop immediately.
That'd be cool. You have an actual tangible set of lights that you flicker on and off. in your lover's face, the green, red, and yellow.
And don't forget that for the most part, the pain is supposed to be mixed with pleasure. So you may want to work in a massage on the areas you spank, or alternate between aggressive sexual encounters and the more gentle ones. There are loads of online communities and workshops out there for you to explore as a couple if you really want to take a few serious steps into BDSM style spanking. So get out there together and discover what you like. It can lead to all sorts of game-changing bedroom techniques, which we'll be sure to discuss here at some point. Now go get spanked. See you next time. And to learn some other tricks you can do with your fingers, check out this video right here.
I heard that you like to be spanked, and I was shocked because I was like,
Yeah, I wonder why
I
that
used to think she was pretty funny.
why do you like
feels
that?
good. Like it can't be hard enough, I think. Well, maybe, I
Didn't
don't
you
know,
s-
but
Didn't you once get spanked and your mother saw the mark on
oh
your
yeah,
ass? And she was concerned. She was like, listen, Sarah, what's going on?
Well,
with
it was
you?"
the first time I came home from New York and like I had lost my virginity and like everything happened like in a year. And then you know how women are like I was in New Hampshire, we only had one good shower. And so it was her shower. So she was like you know how women are. She's peeing, I'm like getting into the shower. And
Yeah.
I step into the shower and she sees my ass and she's like, Sarah. And I look back in the mirror. It is a bruise the exact shape of a hand. It's so funny.
What are people doing to you? Oh my God.
I don't know, but I go, there was nothing I could say. I go, I like to be spanked during sex.
But you dated some guy who was only into feet, and he called your feet slabs. I heard that. Is that
What?
true? Slabs.
Yes.
Like there's a
He's
lingo
the
with that.
greatest guy. He's
Yeah.
um
Do you have
yeah,
nice feet?
he I don't know. They're just feet.
I mean,
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're bad, but they're I don't know.
yeah.
But he's like my boobs and my ass did nothing for him.
Jesus.
I was lying on my stomach. I had to like touch his nipples. He liked like nipple stimulation. And then he's like, let's see those slabs. And then I had to kick up my feet. He's here, my feet, kick up my feet.
Oh my
Really?
Isn't that
goodness.
funny?
What is
That's
that?
a real thing for men.
It is.
No.
I know guys who are into that. They like to smell feet. They like the feet to be stinky. And let's see, those
Ugh.
slabs is the least
I don't
sexy
get
thing
that.
you want to hear
Yeah.
in bed.
Well, I thought it was really funny.
Really? How long were you with this guy?
A very short
Oh,
stint.
yeah.
But
It's
yeah.
too weird. It's too weird, you know. I know it was
Everybody has
Jimmy.
their things.
I know it
It
was
was
Jimmy.
Jimmy Kimmel,
It was
yeah.
Jimmy.
Yeah, I don't like to condemn any kinks in one sense. In the other sense, I'm very conservative, but I think that's weird. And then the fetishists, they'll watch women swath through the swamps with the toe and the other stuff going through their toes, and that's just, to me, it's so gross. And it's almost always the least appealing part on a woman's body. I mean, what about shoulders? Like, women have really round, beautiful shoulders. What about anything else? I mean, it's a little strange. And the feet never are as nice as the rest of the body in other ways too. Like, a lot of beautiful women will have snaggle toes or inverted toes, or one toe bigger than the other, or it's all out of sequence somehow. You know, I'm not picky, but I'm just saying there's a little observaciones I've made over the years. Oh, is it still going? Okay.
Never hit your children, my father told me, because they'll grow up and write about it.
Hey, cats and kittens, come closer. Gather round. Grab a seat. It's story time. Everybody loves a story. I'm going to tell you a story. It's story time. Everybody take out your trash pamphlets. Today's story starts on page... Wait a minute. We're not reading this story. I was 10 years old. My mom was furious. She screamed at me through the parking lot, dragging me toward her car. She pulled a flat hairbrush out of her purse and told me to lie, face down, on the back seat. Not with the brush, I begged, in tears. No, she said. Get on your stomach. The human response to fear, they say, is to fight or to fly, but there are moments when neither is possible. For me to get on my stomach and offer up the sexual center of my body against my will, I had to choke down the human inside me until she stopped my breath. It felt like the most erotic part of my body was being violated against my will, in a way that was profoundly sexual to me, because that's exactly what was happening. Take down.
See, this is really interesting and super duper duper hard to talk about. Awkward would be an understatement because you're having someone overpower you. Like the one thing your parents have to lord over you is their size and physical strength and dominance over you. They're not necessarily smarter than you, and that's another story, but then they can hold that over your head in a really creepy way. But that, you do have all these pleasure centers back there, and it does feel very violating and strange. On the other hand, your ass is made to absorb more pain than any other place in your body. But it's creepy and it's weird and it's just kind of barbaric. Take away their allowance, ground them or whatever, take away their phone for a day or something. But it just creates a weird spirit of resentment, especially if they have, like I had undiagnosed mental disorder, so I was interpreting things properly. And I would get yelled at for being too quiet when I was really just trying to contemplate what was going on in my surroundings. I would be in my autistic headspace and get screamed at all the time. So not everyone fetishes it later. That was spanked when they were younger, but it does make sense, and you have to flip things around. And when you're a kid, you try to file everything under the category of normalcy, under that general heading, because you don't want to think that you're any different than anyone else. Or if you are, you want to think that you're tough and you can absorb it. So there's two schools of thought. And then later on, we are like a sucker for abuse because we stay in that whirlwind and we seek out things that are bad for us without even realizing it half the time. And it's kind of that we just want that taste of the familiar, but not necessarily the good. And our bodies are starving to self-regulate in that manner, you know.
Take down your pants, she said coldly. I want to see if you're bruised. No, I said. It's my body. Do what I say or I'll spank you again, she replied. Simmering with rage, I pulled down my pants and underwear and showed her my butt. She touched one cheek with the tip of her finger. You have a bruise there, she said. She moved her finger to the other cheek. And there. I would not speak about this memory, not to anyone, not even to myself, for more than a decade. Are spanking fetishes caused by childhood trauma? Here's the theory. Beating a child is torture, and the natural reaction to being tortured is to reject the torturer. But children are in a uniquely vulnerable position. They are entirely dependent on their parents for their very means of survival. So when your torturer is also your parent, rejection is not an option. Therefore, the theory goes, some children cope with the trauma of being tortured by a person they are unable to reject by eroticizing that experience. Ergo, spanking fetishism. That theory is bullshit, and I'm going to explain why. But first, I want to say this. I know that some of you out there do believe your fetishes were caused by childhood trauma. I don't think you're correct, and I hope I can change your minds because I believe that theory is really damaging. That being said, if you sincerely believe that your sexuality is a response to trauma, my most important messages to you are these. First, I am so sorry that you were abused. You didn't deserve it. Second, you are the world's single greatest leading expert on your own life, your body, and your sexuality. In this video, I'm going to argue that spanking fetishes are not caused by childhood trauma, but at the end of the day, you know you. I'm grateful to you for hearing me out, but no one knows more about your story than you do. Not even me. Okay, so obviously I had a pretty traumatic spanking experience as a child. So how can I sit here and argue with such absolute certainty that my own sexuality was not formed by childhood trauma when the evidence of my own life seems to prove otherwise? 1. The trauma theory is boring. The theory that spanking fetishes are caused by eroticization of traumatic childhood spankings is boring. Like, really boring. And that becomes apparent when you try to apply the same logic to literally any other sexual orientation, interest, or preference. Here, I'll show you. Let's play Name That Trauma! Let's start the timer. How many sexualities can I explain away with childhood trauma? First, people who are super into boobs. Okay, well, breast milk feeds babies, so sexual attraction to breasts is obviously an eroticized response to traumatic hunger in infancy. Next, okay, women who just crave a big, thick.
Hi, I'm Nicole Hockley from Sandy Hook Promise. The shooter who murdered my son at Sandy Hook Elementary School was able to shoot 154 rounds in approximately 4 minutes. 5 of those bullets hit my 6-year-old son Dylan, and in an instant, he was gone. When the shooter paused to
Okay, this one is easy. Little girls grow up under the trauma of patriarchy, so clearly any woman who is attracted to the male phallus has merely eroticized the trauma of penis envy. Next, men who are attracted to other men. Okay, men who are attracted to other men are clearly responding to the trauma of absent fathers and overbearing mothers, so... Wait. Oh. Really? Yikes. Okay, so I just got word that the theory that male homosexuality is caused by absent fathers and overbearing mothers really was the actual psychiatric explanation for gay men for like a couple of decades until it was wildly disproved, so yikes. Next, people who like to have sex.
Just for the record, I found there was a couple of friends that came out to me as gay growing up, and they did have the crazy overbearing moms, and the dads were out of the picture. So I thought that was contributed respectfully, but I know that's not a given. Apparently, it's been wildly disproven, allegedly. So, yeah. Oh, she's so cute. Cute little face. Oh.
Well, I mean, this is just obvious trauma. Clearly, at some point in childhood, they had the traumatic realization that they are mortal and have therefore eroticized the fear of death by becoming sexually obsessed with the means of procreation. I mean, your heart has to go out to them, really. Do you see how silly and, frankly, how boring the trauma logic sounds when I apply it to more normative sexual interests? There is no clear reproductive reason why so many people are attracted to boobs. Sucking a lady's giant tats does not a baby make, but that's a really normative sexual interest, so people don't feel the need to try to explain it away with trauma. Sexuality is weird. It doesn't fit into boring causal boxes. 2, the trauma theory doesn't cover all of us. Some spanking fetishists were never spanked as kids. Never. Not once.
Clearly they were, but just forgot about it. Or like blocked it out because it was so traumatic.
Hard nope. That theory is really condescending. Some people truly can conclude with certainty that they weren't spanked as kids. For today's show and tell, let me present Dan, the non-traumatized pervert.
Dan, the non-traumatized pervert.
Damen und Herren of Academy. Here we have the case study of the non-traumatized pervert. The subject was not spanked as a child, and we can conclude this based on several pieces of evidence. First, the subject has no memories of being hit.
I mean, my parents definitely yelled sometimes, but they never hit me, and they never even threatened to spank me.
Second, the subject has no memories of his younger sisters being hit.
Right, like, if they spanked me and I just forgot about it, it seems like they would have done the same thing to my little sisters. But, like, no, they definitely didn't. I'd remember.
Third, the subject has parents who were themselves not spanked in childhood.
What can I say? My grandparents were progressive. Sometimes it's good to be European. But if my parents never got spanked, it seems really unlikely they would go on to give me some super traumatic spanking that I just don't remember somehow.
So, we can conclude that there are some spanking fetishists who were not spanked in childhood, and therefore the trauma theory cannot account for all of us. I also want to add, I get a lot of emails from all around the world, and some of those emails come from spanking fetishists in countries like Sweden, which outlawed child battery way back in 1979. So seriously, there are spanking fetishists who not only were not spanked as children, they didn't even grow up in places with normalized references to spanking. The bottom line is, the trauma theory just fails. 3. The trauma theory is increasingly unsupported by science. Look, I don't usually like to appeal to psychiatric science because it has been super wrong about sexuality for a really long time. Psychiatry has a history of pathologizing and stigmatizing masturbation, homosexuality, and a whole bunch of other things that are really healthy and natural. So I don't like to default to psychiatric authority. Another reason I don't like to default to academic studies on this subject is that people aren't studying spanking fetishes specifically. There are some studies about BDSM, but like I've said a number of times, although spankos are a branch of the broader BDSM tree, we are also definitely our own thing. I've seen relationships between BDSM people and spanking fetishists fail, specifically because we really are different. So I'm not convinced that existing academic work about our cousins always necessarily applies to us. But I know many people will not trust a chick like me when there are peer-reviewed publications to be had. So let's talk about some of the studies. A 2008 study from the Journal of Psychology and Human Sexuality concluded, quote,
although psychoanalytic literature suggests that high levels of certain types of psychopathology should be prevalent among BDSM practitioners, this sample failed to produce widespread high levels of psychopathology on psychometric measures of depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsion, psychological sadism, psychological masochism, or PTSD. In fact, on measures of clinical psychopathology and severe personality pathology, this sample appeared to be comparable to both published test norms and to DSM-4 TR estimates for the general population.
In other words, BDSM practitioners are psychologically healthy, or, you know, at least we're not more f***ed up than everyone else. A 2013 study in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found that, quote,
practitioners of bondage, discipline, sadism and masochism, or BDSM, score better on a variety of personality and psychological measures than vanilla people who don't engage in unusual sex acts.
The bottom line is, we don't know what causes sexual fetishes or paraphilias. I reached out to one of my friends, Dr. David Lay, who is a clinical psychologist and author in New Mexico. He said, quote, we don't really know where paraphilias come from. Anyone who says differently is spinning rhetoric. There's no evidence childhood experiences cause them. He's right. We don't know where fetishes come from, but I do know what does not cause them, and that's trauma. Human sexuality is way more interesting than that.
The police don't want you to know this, but the reason we always ask for your insurance first before your registration is because we know, with the cost of everything rising in America, drivers are ditching their car insurance, and that's how we get them. But as one of the good cops,
in 2016, Anne Summers conducted a fetish survey in the UK of 2,300 people, and they found that 75% of people have at least one fetish. The main fetish reported was BDSM, and now it's not surprising to me at all that 75% of people who answered an Anne Summers survey would say that they are into BDSM. But BDSM is not the exact same thing as a fetish. Yes, there is some crossover, but kinks and fetishes are different. This video is going to be all about the differences between kinks and fetishes. It's one that I have been wanting to make for a while now, so let's dive straight in with understanding a bit more about kink. Kinks. There are lots of different definitions to what kink is, and also lots of people will have their own personal definitions to what it means to them. But just so that we're all on the same page here, I'm going to be defining kinks as non-normative, intimate behavior and interests. And note that I said intimate and not sexual, but we'll get onto that later. Now, in order to define what is non-normative, we first have to have a definition of what is normative. And now, here's the kicker. Normative intimate sexual behavior is heterosexual penis in vagina penetration, missionary position within a marriage, and both people are cis and able-bodied. Now, you might be thinking, well, doesn't that then make most things and most people in their sexual behavior and interests non-normative? Well, yes. Yes, that would. Where is the line? Where is the line between normative and kinky? And that's where it comes down to this personal definitions and all of these different varied definitions. And also, what is normative obviously changes with culture and history and different societies. Like anal sex back in 2005, definitely not as normative as it is now if you're like a cis-het couple. And also a lot of kinks that people think are unusual are actually really common. BDSM equipment is sold in mainstream sex shops and online, like it is really accessible. Also, the popularity of 50 Shades of Grey, I mean, come on. And of course, our 75% of people from this Anne Summers survey say they're into BDSM. I personally like to see it as a spectrum of kinks, and at one end, you've got your bedroom kink, which is your handcuffs, your blindfolds, your spanking, maybe a little bit of role play, and that's all happening in the bedroom in private. And then all the way at the other end, you've got your kinkster. They are involved in the kink community. It is a part of their identity, and maybe they go to public kink events and parties. And whilst kink can be a strong part of a person's identity, it's not considered a sexual orientation. And one of the reasons for this is that kink isn't always sexual. It may seem like from the mainstream perspective that kink is inherently sexual, but that is not the case. And I would highly recommend listening to the Doing It podcast episode that we did with Evie Lupine, who is a kinkster, who is asexual, and we talk all about how kink isn't necessarily sexual for her and also for lots of other people. For many people, kink is a really intense hobby, a sport, a leisure activity, and even an art form or spiritual practice. And whilst we're here, let's do a quick what does BDSM stand for? BDSM stands for bondage, discipline, dominance, submission, sadism, and masochism. Yes, that's right, it's a 4-letter initialism that stands for 6 things. It can involve many things, and just some of them include tying someone up, being tied down, flogging, spanking, blindfolding, role-playing, and power exchanges. So kink is this really broad term, and it can mean anything from a premarital handjob to a full-on dom-sub power exchange relationship with your very own sex dungeon. What fun. I think I sit, don't know, closer to this end, but a bit further along than the premarital handjob. So we sometimes hear the word fetish to describe something that is actually a kink. Now, all fetishes are kinks, because they're non-normative, but not all kinks are fetishes. So, what is a fetish? Fetishes unlike kink, there is a medical and psychiatric background to the definition of fetishes. You may have heard of the term paraphilias, which describe abnormal sexual desires listed in the DSM-5, which is a diagnostic manual for diagnosing mental disorders. There are two criteria for diagnosing a paraphilia. The first is that it has to be a recurrent and intense sexual arousal over a period of at least 6 months. And the second is that the urges have been acted on with a non-consenting person, or it's causing significant distress or an impairment in normal functioning, such as social life or work. The vast majority of fetishes are not paraphilias and can be a healthy part of someone's sexuality. Also, the whole concept of diagnosing paraphilias has its own problematic history. For example, homosexuality used to be considered a mental disorder and was listed as a paraphilia in the DSM. So if a fetish isn't a paraphilia and it isn't a kink, what exactly is a fetish? A fetish is a sexual fixation on an object or a body part that isn't typically sexual, and it can also be around activities and behaviors like tickling. And here's how it's different to kink. Kinks, not necessarily sexual. Fetishes, inherently sexual. Kinks, a preference. For fetishes, whatever it is necessary for pleasure, arousal, and/or orgasm. It must be present or interacted with or thought about in some way. So there are some knowns and lots of unknowns when it comes to fetishes. It is more common in cis men than it is in cis women. The causes of fetishes, still up for debate. One of the main theories is about conditioning in childhood, where one thing is paired with another, for example, an object with sexual thoughts or behavior, but it's also now thought that there has to be another thing at play and not just this conditioning. Sexual imprinting, but not the same as in Twilight, happens to all of us from a young age. It's how we learn about what is sexually desirable from our culture, our surroundings, and our upbringing. We know that the most popular fetish is feet and toes. And there's a neurological reason to why this may be so. In the part of the brain that processes sensory functions, your feet and toes is right next to your genitals. Obviously not on your actual body, but according to your brain, they're neighbors. And there is potentially a fetish for anything and everything. Think of a thing that exists. There may be someone out there with a fetish for that. This light reflector, fetish, love it. And that, to me, just shows also like,
this game, you're not ready for it.
how diverse and unique human sexuality is. Most fetishes aren't harmful, but some can be harmful to others or to the person with the fetish themselves. If someone's fetish is causing them distress or harm to other people, then some people with fetishes do seek treatment, such as therapy, where they can learn to live with their fetish in a more healthy way. But I also do want to add that the personal distress that can be caused by having a fetish is that because of the fetish itself or because of the social stigma surrounding fetishes. Many people have really fulfilling sex lives incorporating their fetish. Again, I would definitely recommend listening to an episode we did on doing it with the lovely ladies from Come Curious. Reed talked all about her experience with her tickle fetish and how she came to come to terms with it and embrace it and love it. So things like kink and BDSM are definitely becoming more mainstream, but there is still a lot of social taboo and a lack of understanding around fetishes. And of course, it goes without saying that consent is crucial when engaging in different kinks, fetishes, and any sexual activity. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you to my patrons for supporting this channel and the sex education content that we make here. If you want to join our lovely community of sex nerds, get to know other people, get access to lots of different kinds of bonus content as well, then you can check it out. Link in the description.
Hey now, what do you guys think? Wasn't as into it as I thought, but the day is still young. It's only 2 o'clock over here. What do you guys got planned for today? I gotta do my laundry, make my breakfast for tomorrow. That's my plasma day. It's a very special day to me. And do some other stuff. So I got my SSA thing in motion. I'm just waiting to hear the decision. My lawyer stepped up to the plate at the last minute. I didn't think he would. He's kind of like the Better Call Saul guy, that actor he reminds me of. And he put in some good words, tied it all together. I didn't get to read my new script that I made. I painstakingly put together when I deleted all my notes when I smashed my old iPhone 8 and got my new 16. Nothing made the transfer, not even my pictures or notes or anything. So it's worth it because the phone is so awesome itself. And the 1080p is so much easier on my old eyes. I wear contacts and I never take them out just to save money. I'm afraid I'll drop them on the ground or they'll dry out somehow. I'm too cheap to buy the liquid, you know. But I think things are going to start shaping up. At this time last year, I was pretty darn destitute. I was like, I don't want to e-bag, but I don't know what else to do. Everything was falling through. Everything that I didn't think would happen in my life has happened. And in no small way either. So I'm trying to dig my way out of this hole, but it's been invigorating. You guys have been really helpful. And very, very special. Special ed. No way, no! So as going forward, I think artificial intelligence is going to be really helpful, because if I can't have it explained one way, I can have it explained a different way, and Google doesn't do that, and people don't do that. So I'm going to learn as much as I can this month and see how far it gets me. I'm trying to learn reverb this morning. I can pick up where I left off tomorrow, but I was mad. I was yelling at the AI. I should get the paid version once I can afford it. That way I can take a snapshot of my screen and then they can diagnose me from there. And it makes it much easier. But yeah, check out ChatGPT on your phone. I really love iPhone. I love the simplicity of certain aspects and the sleekness of it. It's just so appealing. There's just something about it. How's about it? Let's see who's live. Ugh. Check out Kayla Boo. She's got nice lips. I think she's too young for me. She's like late 20s. I know I look like I'm that age, but yeah.